Okay, good afternoon. I'm going to address two things here as far as I'm going to weigh in on the Trump phenomenon. And I have 2 points of view, one towards the never-Trumpers and one towards the libertarians, both of which seem to hate Trump at this point. I believe I'm a really good guy to deliver this message because I'm kind of a Trump agnostic. I don't love him, I don't hate him. I consider myself a Christian libertarian who believes in small government, balanced budgets, and liberty. In the primaries, I didn't vote for him. I'm a numbers guy. I always look at the probabilities, and there's no way at this point, short of a miracle, that Mitt Romney or Jeb Bush or the RINO establishment's going to get a candidate to come in and kind of have a coup and take over Trump as the candidate. So rather than throw a temper tantrum, you never-Trumpers, what I would suggest is try and exercise your powers of influence and see. He's not your candidate. It's clear, but maybe you can influence him to see some of your points of view. And if you think he's not an open-minded guy, I have 1,000 reasons that say you're wrong. Last week, he met with 1,000 of the top evangelicals in the country, and rumor has it he, at that point, turned the corner from a cultural Christian to that of a true believer. Now, that was a message from James Dobson, who's very well respected in the evangelical community. Time will tell if that's the case, but a couple other examples is Trump's gone on kind of fringe media like Michael Savage and InfoWars, both of whom I've listened to, but not well liked by the mainstream Republican establishment. And so he's listening to their points of view. So my point is, coming back full circle, is rather than throw a temper tantrum and kind of stomp your feet and he's not your candidate, try and exercise your powers of influence. I think it's time to detente and try and find a middle ground with him. And this is out to not just Mitt Romney, Jeb Bush, those people who are no longer in the race, but to Paul Ryan as well. So, but with that said, I believe that there's a couple reasons why the RINO'S probably won't come around and try and compromise and find a middle ground with Trump. One, money, power, influence will be lost if Trump gets in. Lobbyists will become impotent. Foreign countries and corporations probably won't receive as much power, influence, or money in Washington. And that scares people. And then this one's kind of more of a conspiratorial. I think there are a ton of skeletons in the closet in Washington that Trump will probably expose. Whether it's the 28 pages that were redacted from the 9/11 Commission report, or letting people just read the TPP report deal, or seeing who and where we send money to, and guns to, and arms to around the world. I think transparency will be better than this administration's. So that's just my thoughts. Hopefully the establishment comes around and kind of coalesces around this candidate. Again, he wasn't my candidate, but I think the alternative is not good. So my message to libertarians is kind of very different. We have to approach politics in several different ways. Either, as libertarians, either continue to fight as a subset of the Republican Party, or really create your own party. For example, Ron Paul, everyone pretty much knows he's a libertarian, but he's always been a Republican. Gary Johnson tried to be the presidential candidate under the guise of the Republican Party last election. So it just, you have those two choices, and I'm not sure where the libertarian, I would say try and reform the Republican Party like the Tea Party has done. So the Oval Office for the Libertarian Party may not be doable right now, but getting libertarians into local office all the way up to governorship is doable. Gary Johnson's a perfect example of that, and I think that's where the libertarians should really focus at this point. May not be the best analogy, but when immigrants came over generations ago, as my ancestors did, a lot of times, majority of the times, the parents sacrifice so the children could have a better life, so their children could go to college. So the dad would work 2 to 3 jobs, and they'd live in as dirt poor, but the kids could go on to college. And you hear about that story over and over again as the American dream. And I kind of think that's where the Libertarian Party is at this point. I think we have to not fall on our sword, but just pace yourself and realize it might be the next wave, the next generation that makes it into the Oval Office, and focus instead on senator level, Congress, governors, mayors, and other influential positions. Those are just my thoughts. Let me know what you think. All right. Thanks for listening. Please subscribe.